Guru Nation, welcome to podcast episode 313. Close. You want to guess?
317?
Oh, exactly right. This guy's we were talking earlier, Finian, one of our CRA Academy graduates from New York City. Chris Sauber, regular on this show. Finian is visiting us. He's doing his internship. He thinks this book is phenomenal. That's why we have so many on the table. No, we just want you guys to buy more. Professional poker player, or semi-pro. I mean, he's good. And just by you were able to find out the number, when he said 313 and I said no, you knew to go higher. You're good, man. He's good.
Lucky guess.
Lucky guess. That's what all the good poker players say. Like, they're just humble. And then Chris is actually also semi-pro poker player.
It is a lucky guess. Kind of. It's your gut feeling.
Chris is a hater.
But it's a guess. No, I'm not talking about him. I'm just taking in general.
In general. Chris is also like a semi-pro. We've mentioned on the show before. Mm-hmm. Semi-pro poker player. I'm very, very much a casual poker player. So I would get, my ass kicked by you guys.
That's not necessarily true.
But fantasy football, now we're equal playgrounds, guys.
You get the right kind of right run up cards. You whoop both of us.
If I knew how to do it.
No.
Poker is a game of skill, man. It's not luck.
I watched a person one time had no clue what they were even doing. Coming second in a tournament. A large tournament, yeah.
Wow. That happens.
Yeah. That happens. You just need a good run.
That's true. So, next year, fantasy football league, Kalinga Truck Guru,
sure.
would you be interested?
I'll be interested.
So, maybe next 2020, I think the next decade, it's only fitting that we start it next year. Mm-hmm. So, anyone that's interested, email Chris at brkthru.org.
We need a dozen, right?
Yeah, put in the subject.
Dozen?
You want to do 12 men, right? 16 men's too much.
Yeah, 12's good.
Because then you can't find anyone on waivers.
Yeah.
We have a 12-man team, but only like 9 people on the roster, right?
12-man league.
Yeah, 12-man league. How many people on team?
12.
12?
Wow.
It seems like
roster.
you get so many good players on the waiver wire.
Yeah.
It's like you hate to drop people.
Yeah, I think 12 is about the cutoff.
I feel like we could use one more. But then, I like it because it's like there's good and bad. Like you're never truly out of it.
True.
Because you can always find a good player. Anyways, email Chris at brkthru.org if you want to join next year's 2020. So we got Finian, Dan, Chris. We need 9 more. I know a few other you have expressed interest in the past, so let's get a formal list. Email Chris, and we'll actually create a list this time.
Well, if you're actually going to go into this, so it'll be probably $100, right?
$100.
Do it. We'll have some sort of online platform. Yeah.
Yahoo.
Well, whatever. Online platform.
Yahoo's pretty good.
Yahoo's good because they have an app, and you can check it on your phone, too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Yahoo's good. Okay, so thank you, Finian, for coming on. Finian finished early with his monitoring. We're going to spend an entire week with him doing monitoring in LA and Orange County. Right now we're in San Bernardino. We're going to make sure that your confidence is sky high when it comes to job interviews by the end of the week. But today we're going to go through some questions we got from some viewers because I've been batching them for this very day for a moment like this. So we got questions from the audience, and we're just going to discuss these things and not necessarily give answers because a lot of these don't have answers. They just require commentary. But let's find the first one. And by the way, what do you think about this format? Grab bag of questions.
Yeah, we do this all the time.
Yeah, do you like this?
Yeah, it's fine.
And what do you think while I'm looking for the question? Lately, a lot of New York City area
Yeah, it's odd.
interns. New York. Are you Yankees or Mets?
Mets fan.
Oh, there you go, man. If I were in New York, I always tell everybody I know I would be Mets.
Yeah.
And I would be Jets.
And which football field? Football team?
I'm Jets fan.
I would do the same.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not the Bills?
I grew up in Hempstead, right?
Isn't that closer to you? Buffalo Bills? Or
no, the Bills up north. I grew up in Hempstead, so the Jets used to practice at Hofstra Stadium, which is like 5 minutes from where I lived.
Ah,
so
okay.
I grew up just going to the practice, watch them live sometimes.
See, I'm the same. Like I'm Angels for baseball and a Chargers. I'm a Niner fan, but Chargers for the LA teams. I go with Chargers just because they get hated on. You know,
they're talking about moving to London.
I heard that. That's nonsense.
Yeah, that's. Wow.
That would be a horrible schedule for the
West Coast.
Every game is a horrible schedule.
Well, it wouldn't be any worse than West Coast to East Coast. For East Coast to London, but it'd be horrendous for West Coast to London.
It'd be horrendous for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Basically, their minimum flight is 6 hours.
6 hours.
Yeah. To the East Coast.
At least they might have fans.
Yeah.
So we got a first question. Let's get into it, okay? Hi, Dan. Can you do a video on giving pointers? And this one we probably are going to have the least amount of answers for you, but we're going to try. Will you do a video giving pointers for how someone can get from clinical research academia to enter the CRO pharma? So somebody from the academic side of research wants to enter the private sector, and they want to be a CRA, but they are currently a site coordinator with 10 years of experience at an academic institution. First of all, I feel very sorry for you, but for some people, they love that situation. But you're exactly right. Like, you're illustrating the problem with working at these places is they all are dead-end places. Unless you have advanced degrees or you're like a doctor or even a pharmacist, then they just give you more protocols. Mm-hmm. But if you're a doctor, you can start writing your own studies, getting grants. So you have more options as a doctor. As a coordinator, if you're happy being there, like maybe you can become a manager, a director, project manager, but there's really like no other places. It's very difficult to transition from academia to private research because it's very different the way they operate. It's very different. The job responsibilities in an academic institution is often everything is streamlined, compartmentalized, specialized. In the private sector, I tell, and you're going to meet her Thursday, Monica, who's our site director in Costa Mesa. Her job at that site, they would have like 15 people at a university doing her job.
Wow.
So that's the problem when you get into these academic places. The way to get out of it, to transition...
Wait. There are some positive things working at a...
There's a lot. I'm not all doom and gloom. I'm just
Sure.
telling you, like, I feel sorry for you because I know this is a great place to get started. If you stay a little too long, you run the risk of nobody in the private sector wants to hire you because they know at these academic institutions, typically, there's a lot of people doing very little, more or less. Like, they're just maintaining the status quo.
But if it's a public university, you have good benefits typically. You have a good retirement plan.
That's right. Fun place to work at for the most part.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of coworkers.
You probably go back to school for little or no cost. I mean, there's
You
all
get
kinds of things
discounts.
you
Yeah, there's perks. There's perks. I'm not, like, all negative. I'm going to get a lot of hate after this one.
Well, I'm trying
we love you,
try to
academics.
help you avoid that.
Yeah, we love you, academics. I mean, it is a good place to work, and for some people, it's a great place to like just continue and finish your career, if that's for you. For some people, it's perfect. But I know many people like this person. There's a reason they're emailing me. It's because they're not the only one. Like, this is just one I picked. I get this almost every day from someone in an academic institution in this situation. 10 plus years as a site coordinator, wants to enter the pharma industry, CRO industry. First thing is talk to your CRAs that monitor there. I monitor at universities.
So do they do sponsored studies? I assume yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk to your CRAs.
Talk to your CRAs, but see, here's the thing. Here's another thing with these academic institutions, and especially the big ones. They have very strict SOPs on what you're allowed to talk to.
Seriously?
With outsiders. Yeah.
Wow, really? There's governance on what you can say.
Communication policy.
Wow.
Networking. Like, of course, you can still do it, but you can get in trouble for talking business with your CRA. Wow. It's supposed to be very when I say streamlined, I'm telling you, like, I monitor at these sites. Wow. It's very much like, just, here's what we do, this is our policy, here's what you need, thank you. That's it. So you can go on LinkedIn, you can still network with your CRAs, because I don't know what your SOP is, but I'm sure some are stricter than others. So, be careful about that. That's why I don't just say, hey, go out. But you can go network at SOCRA, ACRP events. There's nothing in anyone's SOPs, as far as I know, that say you can't go to those things. But as far as CRAs that come to your institution, usually there's a policy with
well, if you're on the clock, they can dictate what you're doing.
Correct. So that's probably the best bet, is to be a study coordinator at a site. Talk to your CRA about maybe being a CRA. I know a lot of people, especially if you have oncology experience at an academic institution, oncology CRAs, and you're going to get oncology experience Friday and then beyond doing our remote monitoring.
Gotcha.
They're like, anybody with oncology experience is in huge demand for sites, for CROs, for sponsors. So having oncology goes a long way if you have that on your CV.
That's good. It's good to know.
Yeah. What else do you think, Chris or Finian, about this? I'm struggling, even though I have 10 years. It is not easy to break through from academia to CRO pharma.
Well, she has I don't know what the problem is if she's doing any oncology, right?
Right, they didn't say.
Right. But regardless, I still think the relationship she's developed with CRAs, she should be able to find something.
Yeah.
I would think. Even past CRAs, reach out to them. You still have their email addresses.
There's ways around your policies, but those are, and if your policy doesn't have any restrictions, you need to network with every single CRA that comes into your site.
Yep.
And you interact with. Okay? Be good to them, they'll be good back to you. Funny how those things work.
Exactly.
Yeah? Next question comes from an in-house CRA. Okay, I have a job interview tomorrow, and I need to know what an in-house CRA does when it comes to approving IRB template for informed consents from sites. So basically, if a site has
I see. So they
like a study startup,
right? The CRA receives the site's template.
Well, the in-house CRA receives the site template.
Right.
So the IRB, the way this works, the IRB, if the site is using a central IRB, the IRB sends the site's ICF template, informed consent template. The site is supposed to fill out its things like who's the PI, what's the address, what's the site name, what's the phone number, 24-hour contact,
stipend
that the patients will receive. Once they complete this, the in-house CRA collects these, reviews them, and then sends it to the IRB. So this person's asking, what does this in-house CRA look for when reviewing these things?
So I've never done this, but I would assume you're looking to make sure everything is correct, right? Is the address that's listed correct? Is the PI's name spelled and listed correctly?
Is the phone number a functioning phone number?
Are all these contact information and individuals listed correct and spelled correctly? And then the stipend, was that approved by the sponsor? Is that what's it called for in the budget? Something like that. I would guess.
Yeah. Let me see. What do you think, Finian, as far as while I search for the rest of this person's question?
I'm fairly new to the industry, but I would agree with Chris. Just double checking those things, confirming what needs to be there.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that sounds a lot more complicated than it is. Especially, it sounds like this person is worried about this interview because they don't actually have the experience.
So,
being the in-house CRA.
More importantly, did you receive this email today?
No, yesterday. So by the time we were recording this, they already had their. Yes. I got another one. So hopefully your interview went well.
Yeah, and hopefully you answered it like I proposed.
Yeah, for what it's worth, it's not that hard, but let's see how you did. Let me know. I got another one. Do you have anything on primary endpoint and secondary endpoint in a study?
Sure. You're reviewing a study with a primary and secondary right now.
Oh, yeah. Let's ask Finian. Put him on the spot.
Yeah, we covered this yesterday, remember?
Okay, Finian needs to answer this one. This person's asking, I guess they don't really know what that even means.
So, I mean, it goes back to reading the protocol, understanding the primary in this particular case that I'm studying with the schizophrenia case. The primary was to find out if the medication had any positive impacts on the negative effects of the diagnosis, and the secondary.
Very good.
The secondary objective was to see, in addition to find out what the negatives were, if there were any improvements in cognitions of these patients, of these subjects. So
yes.
It just goes back to reading the protocol, understanding what it is, and just going with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So primary is basically what's the first thing we're trying to prove,
Exactly.
and then secondary, what's second, right? What else are we possibly trying to prove from this, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So we have a primary endpoint and a secondary endpoint. It's basically what that boils down to, right?
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, and I told the person the same thing. And I also told them, like, if you're trying to study, like, if you have an interview coming up and they're asking you, if they already, like, sometimes they'll tell you, we're going to be asking you about these things. Or sometimes the job recruiter is going to tell you, hey, they might ask you about what you know about primary endpoints, secondary endpoints for this indication. So if you're preparing for one of these interviews, or maybe you're curious and want to learn more, if you're watching or listening right now, clinicaltrials.gov, okay, go there, type the indication in search, just type all active studies, okay, and then you'll see, like, if it's for schizophrenia, or if you type GERD, or if you type breast cancer, you're going to see all the primary and secondary endpoints of the study. Look for commonalities, look for things that are similar. You're going to start seeing the same things recurring. Like in schizophrenia, you're going to see positive and negative symptoms of schizophrenia as a frequent primary endpoint, right? So every indication has the most frequently looked after primary and secondary endpoints. So you got to study these things, especially if you're going to be interviewing where they require some kind of deep therapeutic expertise. So clinicaltrials.gov is out there. It's free, and you can learn all about primary and secondary endpoints on your own. You just search for these things. It's all out there, publicly available.
Google's your friend too.
Google's your friend. Yeah, Google's your friend also. I mean, learn about common medications. Learn about contraindicated medications. For certain indications have the same contraindicated meds. And it's for a reason. Usually it's for safety reasons. Or sometimes it's for efficacy reasons. Right? Like I know in schizophrenia, usually clonazepine is excluded because it works so well.
Yep.
But there are some side effects of it, and they don't want, they just don't want to mess with that.
Well, it's not only that. It's not just that it works so well, but if that's the only thing that works for you, then our medication is probably not going to test positive with you, right? Even if we have you come off clonazepine, you're not going to respond to our medication. It's also, I think, what's common.
Correct. Well, let me see if we got more questions. So what do you think about that? Have you gone on clinicaltrials.gov yourself, Finian?
I have not.
It'll be very good. Also, Google Scholar is a very good one when you're trying to study a certain indication. One of our former students, I think his name was Chris also. He got hired here in San Diego. He used Google Scholar primarily to study traumatic brain injury because he was being interviewed by a traumatic brain injury sponsor, one that specializes in TBI studies. And so he was able to read up on all the most recent studies done on TBI and came across as an expert in the interview. So these are the kind of things you got to do. What do you think, Chris, as I look for this last question? I know I have it here somewhere.
I don't know anything about Google Scholar, but that sounds great.
Yeah, Google Scholar is fantastic. I've only used it a few times myself, but I used it when we were in charge of writing that synopsis. So I got some stuff from Google Scholar. Here's the last one. If you haven't already, can you talk about how much, if any, regulatory affairs works with clinical operations, and what kind of work is involved?
So first off, if you haven't already, I mean, almost every topic's been done already, hasn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, we'll negate that.
Yeah, we've done a video on everything, but basically, how does regulatory affairs work with ClinOps?
Regulatory affairs works
And
with
here's
ClinOps.
a not so subtle answer is get the book, okay? But let's give you an answer because that's why you guys are here, okay? So regulatory affairs, they're in charge of setting up the regulatory roadmap for the investigational product, okay? They know if it's going to go 510K, they know if it's going to go pre-IND, they know where you are, what you're going for, and what's the pathway. They usually talk to the FDA as well.
And how do they know this?
Because they discuss with the FDA. They have, this number's been calling me like all day. We got to find out who this is. They talk to the FDA. They have meetings. They have experience doing previous studies.
Right. So they take the experience of the previous studies and the FDA offerings, and they design their study.
They design with the cooperation of the FDA. So now, how do they work with ClinOps? Well, ClinOps gets involved after the study is planned. After the roadmap is established, then ClinOps gets involved. Sometimes ClinOps gets involved with site selection.
What is ClinOps?
Clinical operations. So when after you decide what regulatory pathway to take, then everything else starts, right? Like site selection, regulatory startup. That's now all becomes operations.
Okay.
So that's ClinOps. That's how they work with regulatory affairs. Regulatory affairs is first. They kind of set the vague framework of where you're headed. Then ClinOps comes in and says, okay, we need 300 patients. The FDA says we need 300 patients. So how many sites do we need? What sites have we worked with in the past?
Per site are we going to get?
How many patients per site? Okay, who's our IRB? What kind of EDC is appropriate for this kind of study? What other vendors do we need? What other assessments did the FDA say we need? These are the sites we need. These are the vendors we need. Who are the CRAs that we want to hire? We're going to get Feeney in on this study because he has experience with this. We're going to get Chris to do the auditing. This is what ClinOps does. And then ClinOps kind of manages the study. Regulatory affairs gets involved whenever there's SUSARs, whenever there's SAEs. They're submitting these things to the FDA, the IRBs, back to the sites. ClinOps is overseeing everything as far as the operations is concerned. The way I understand it. But then again, every sponsor has different process for how these things work together. Many places, the regulatory affairs is the ClinOps person.
Right.
Especially in these smaller biotechs.
There's unfortunately very few standards in this industry.
Very few. Yeah, very few. So, but what we just explained in 5 minutes is like opportunities for everybody listening. One of those places is for you.
Yep.
Right? Like there's tons of opportunities. It's not just CRA or coordinator. That's what we see during the study is the coordinator, we see the CRA. There's a before the study, which is usually regulatory affairs and a little bit of ClinOps. And then there's post-study, which is like regulatory affairs, all the analysts, right? All the people that submit the data to the FDA. Those are the people that come in after the study. And they're during the study as well. So there's opportunities everywhere for people. Vendors. Okay, 60% of budgets are going to vendors. So there's a lot of these kind of things in the industry. A lot of opportunities. Anything else you guys want to add as we wrap up? This was a very good podcast.
Very good, huh?
Yeah.
You got anything to add?
Nah, good stuff. I mean, I'm still learning.
Any questions?
Not right now.
No? Okay.
We'll do more. We'll do more videos. And Friday we'll do a nice one as well.
Yes, so Dan forces students, just so you know, students to do videos.
I do.
But
the last one got lucky.
We had one student who was so scared of doing videos, still made her do it. She wound up during the middle of it running off with a pillow over her head.
Wow.
So
Yeah, she grabbed the pillow from the couch as like a comfort, something of comfort, and just ran with it. And we call her Pillow Girl. Last week's student got lucky. She was very camera shy. I was going to do a full podcast with her driving back in the car.
Yeah.
And my GoPro wouldn't turn on.
Wow.
It was out of battery.
She
and I
sabotaged
said, no
it.
way.
She sabotaged
Yeah,
it.
I bet you she drained the battery. I bet you. She's a smart one, too.
Wow.
Yeah, but we'll do one.
Yeah.
You're not camera shy. Maybe we'll
I'm
talk
actually-
about poker,
I'm actually
fantasy football. I feel like you're a very interesting person, so we could get a lot of content with you, Finian.
Cool, man.
And who knows where this industry is going to take you, man.
Hey, who
Sky's the limit.
knows?
Right?
Who knows?
It's not just CRA, CRC. There's way more to it than that. And thanks to your friend for putting us in touch.
Yeah, not a problem, man.
What's his name?
His name is Chidi.
Chidi, we love you, man.
Yeah.
We'll give you a book, too. Chidi, get a book.
Yeah.
Is Chidi in the industry?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, CRA.
20 days at home.
Oh, that person.
All right, good stuff, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, listening. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate
And
it.
we'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.